a marketplace couldn't run on Python in the same way that we're doing all the other transactions. And we're using a separate MySQL database for connecting the wallets and player information to the MMO database that we've implemented, so that whenever a request comes through or any kind of event comes through is requested by the client, we do a lot of cross-checking with the atavism, with the MMO database, and we store things quite securely. So I don't think it's impossible for a marketplace to exist. You just don't write it in Rust, you write it in Python. And the IOTA SDK, as it's called, is archived and 2 or 3 years old, but it is the L1 SDK and works fine on Shimmer, and it's functioning now.
That's cool, because yeah, I never thought of it that way. If the game has to be the intermediary anyway, it makes perfect sense that a marketplace would work on it. So yeah, I love that.
I mean, certainly it would be cool to go, you can, it would be cool to be able to say, well, you can actually take your NFTs that you've crafted in the game, or all the crafting professions in TRAPPIST-1 MMO will be NFTs, everything you craft. And it'd be nice to say you can go and put that on any EVM network you like, or any marketplace on the Shimmer EVM or on the IOTA EVM. That would be cool, but I don't think it's necessary, because you have every MMO type game, and in fact Infernal Uprising as well, has its own marketplace. So it doesn't need necessarily to be connected to other marketplaces.
Okay. Well, it's good to hear, and I mean, and that all that code is open source, correct, Edward? So if someone
Python stuff is not open source, but the Unity SDK that I wrote is open source, and the IOTA SDK is still on the IOTA's GitHub. It's archived, but it is still there, and I'm using it, and it's working great. And I did a quick test, and it is working on TAN as well.
Well, great.
Everything that IOTA has developed is still functional, even if it's archived. For example, I still run a Hornet node with Simmer and it works perfectly. And I still submit data on Simmer effectively. So
there you go.
Yep. Well, that's great. I think it sounds like, it'll be pretty, it seems very positive to be able to get multiple dApps on TAN, and very positive to get a game on TAN. Which I think would be great. Again, it's when that airdrop happens, or I'm sure even before then, because if we're going to do a 12-month kind of vesting period, but as people are getting tokens as they vest and are being rewarded, then they have somewhere to go to use them. So it's positive. I like it.
To that note on this narrative thread, this was something that came up when we were thinking about use cases in the initial white paper and we were writing it. I mentioned AI16Z as one of these examples of a successful DAO that's really kind of created a lot of value for everybody who participated early on in. Another one, and it's not as pure of a DAO function, but it takes a lot of this kind of gaming and entertainment first approach that has actually been crushing it. Funny enough, they've even got a higher market cap than IOTA, and they launched last year. And again, it was a generally community-ish involvement, is called Virtuals Protocol. They're currently sitting at a $1.8 billion fully diluted value. And they started off as a company that was building AI NPCs and just anchoring that data on the blockchain. And I think that was mostly done by L1. They kind of evolved, and then they created their own, hey, spin up your own little AI NPC marketplace thing. And I don't know how EVM compatible that is or not, but maybe diving in a little bit more to some of their success and taking a page from their book could be a nice path forward on how we might want to prioritize some of these RFPs that come in after our initial infrastructure, because there is already a proven path to success there. They're sitting at number 75 market cap. IOTA, I believe, is at number 85. So
that's pretty.
It shows what the market's looking for.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and that's it. I think I would hope that aspect of hey, it's so hard for people to get invested in early in certain networks because they just want VCs, and VCs, there's so many limitations in many countries that you have to be accredited investors and etc. Whereas honestly, we have this aspect of, hey, be a VC with your time, talent, and effort, and you can still get rewarded. and you know, for people that are looking for a long-term financial reward, the TAN network doesn't have to be shooting for spot number 5. You know, if you can get in the top 100, like, you know, number 75, and if you could get half of 1%, you know, you're good. That eventually, if you're in the top 100, like Virtual's protocol, you're a couple $1,000,000 there, you know, for simply just putting in time, effort, and skill. So I think, you know, again, I really see an opportunity here. And I like the aspect of community oriented and be a VC through time talent rather than, you know, being an accredited investor and et cetera. And again, the doors are open to anyone that wants to get involved. Cool. All right, we're hitting about 11 o'clock. I was glad to see Garrett is moving over some of that code. Hopefully in the next week we'll get that. We'll get this vote up for the airdrop split between SMR and IOTA holders. Let's keep out there discussing, trying to find validators. That's going to be one of the biggest thing. Again, you know, a validator comes in, they could easily get 1% of that supply. And if, you know, TAN eventually was something like Virtual's protocol and worth 1.1 billion, you know, that 1%, you're looking at, what is that, $10 million. So, you know, I would think it's worth a couple hours of just a month. If I could do it, I certainly would do it. I just don't have the technical savviness to be there. But I think, yeah, it won't take too long for us to get that message out. It was really great to hear that, you know, there's dApps I can launch on L1. And again, we can drop those incentives to those individuals that want to import those. And even if it's not directly from the team, if it's someone that has tech savviness that says, hey, I can, you know, there's some open code, let's just say here, from Sooniverse, but no one from the Sooniverse team wants to import that over. If someone else says, hey, I can take that code and I can bring it over and I can launch it on TAN, great. You know, and we have these 40% of supply that we can incentivize these individuals to do that. So more dApps, more things for them to do, especially if we can get a gaming protocol built on TAN and show the real benefit of an L1. Plus, you know, any researchers out there that were building research projects on Shimmer that can finalize it on TAN and show, hey, this is it works, you know, and there's benefits here, and you know, here's a tangible use case. You know, I think we really got the foundation for something here. So thanks again for coming. This always creates great discussions, and I'm glad we had an in-vote group vote and then an agreement to send that out to the bigger community. I think that's great. That's governance in action, as always. And as always, the disclaimer, anyone can come to this meeting. If anyone's watching this, get involved. And if you can't be here for this time, you know, we have a governance channel. Just simply write in that governance channel, and we as the team will always bring it up during this meeting, discuss it, and try to make decisions and seek full consensus from the community. So appreciate everyone coming, and we'll see you next week.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. You know, I know you just closed off. May I just ask? I'll bring up another point.
Real quick. Go ahead.
There was something in the chat about a linear award calculation. I'm wondering whether it should taper and maybe even cap out. I saw the spreadsheets. We're talking, some people have 14 quadrillion IOTA. Oh, sure, I understand. But I mean, we're still talking about, there are some very, very, very top-heavy things where the vast majority of the IOTA is going to go to the top 5% of people. Of the TAN would go to the top 5% of the people on IOTA and Shimmer. And that seems anti-democratic. It might be an opportunity in TAN to sort of, not entirely, but kind of level the playing field a little bit, just a little bit, and taper out the rewards.
I think this is going to be a whole discussion because that goes against free economics and brings in communism and distribution. But let's discuss this next week. And if I don't get it in a Notion before I log off here, let's Bill Poster remind me, or someone else remind me. But I think it's definitely worth a discussion. But we'll take longer from now. So cool. Okay. Right. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye bye.